All right, joining me is Sal Gilbertie, CEO of Teucrium, who just today they launched the first XRP ETF in the US. It's the Teucrium 2x Long Daily XRP ETF. The ticker symbol, and this is a good one, it's XXRP. In other words, double XRP, which I love that. And this obviously offers leverage exposure to the digital asset XRP. Now, Teucrium has long offered ETFs, primarily commodity-based ETFs such as wheat and corn futures ETFs, but they have dabbled in crypto in the past. We'll touch on that. They currently have 12 ETFs in all, about $320 million in assets, a very unique ETF issuer. And so, Sal, always great to connect and welcome to the podcast.
Nate, thank you. It is always great to be with you. It's fun.
All right, so I think we should just jump right in here. You did just launch the first XRP ETF in the US. I'm just curious, how did day one go? I know there's still a little bit of time until market close here as we record this, but what have you seen thus far?
A terrific response. There was overwhelming excitement. I think a lot because we were overlooked. I mean, we made our filing and it was largely ignored. We were the only people to file with a ticker. And for whatever reason, it just was passed over, and it kind of took people by surprise. We filed as soon as we could after the old SEC regime left, and the 75 days effectiveness took place on Saturday. So we seeded yesterday, which was Monday, and launched today. I think it's almost at a couple 100,000 shares. It's been a terrific, very successful launch. Our most successful launch day to date for any fund we've ever done.
And give us just the quick backstory on this ETF. Why did you decide to pursue this?
Sure. Well, as you know, I like crypto. I very much, we were one of the first to file for a Bitcoin ETF. We were all asked to withdraw. Everyone did. And then we were the very first to refile when we realized that Bitcoin futures were liquid enough. And so we refiled and began, in those days, the 33 Act process was a 270-day process. And we filed in April. It should have launched the following January. And the SEC changed the rules midstream in August, and the 40 Acts came out. They only have a 75-day window, and we were beaten to the punch there with a little rule change by the old SEC regime. And that very much gave us the opportunity to, number one, be a pioneer. Number two, in fact, the Grayscale lawsuit was based upon the ETF approval, our Bitcoin ETF's approval, which ultimately was approved. And so I like crypto. We didn't really do much with Ether. I happen to really be an XRP fan. I think that it has a good use case. I think it's very legitimate. I think that they're smart people, and I like the asset. And so when we realized crypto, there was going to be a more friendly atmosphere toward crypto by the new SEC. We got to work, filed as soon as the new SEC came, as soon as the old SEC was out of power. Let's put it that way. And the 75 days went by, and we launched as soon as we possibly could, and it was very good process. It was tough to do. We got excellent tickers, and we're here, and we're happy.
You mentioned the more friendly atmosphere at the SEC. Can you tell us anything more just about the regulatory review process and bringing this to market? I think to your point, it's been well documented that the prior administration and prior SEC, they weren't necessarily the most pro-crypto people in agencies. I think we've seen a clear shift here now, right? The current administration and SEC are taking a drastically different approach than their predecessors. What can you tell us just about the review process overall?
Sure. The review process went as you would expect a review process to go in the most stable, highly well-regulated markets in the world. And, prior to the new SEC, the old SEC was an impediment. They crushed innovation. They were an enemy of cryptocurrencies. There's no polite way to describe them, that's the leadership. Okay, so the good thing about the SEC is that there are a lot of people who've worked there many years. They're good people. We get along with them. They do their job well and diligently, And that's what they did in this case. Is they didn't look for an impediment. They didn't look for a way to stop things. They simply made sure that we were adhering to the rules and regulations of, again, the most highly regulated and safest markets in the world, the United States markets, for a reason. And so we got through all that process. It's a 75-day process, and we launched this as soon as we possibly could. You really can't time an ETF launch. You file as soon as you get the idea and get the paperwork in. That starts the clock, and when that's done, you launch, and that's what we did here.
And we'll get into the ETF itself here in just a moment, but you mentioned the Bitcoin futures ETF. Clearly, you have been involved in crypto for a while. How did you first actually become interested in crypto?
Honestly, a friend of mine people told me about Bitcoin many years ago. I remember Bitcoin was trading at 25 cents when I first heard about it. And I had a computer guy. He was the guy that took care of my computer at the bank. And he told me I should buy $100 worth of these things. And I told him, you're crazy, I'd lose the password. Oh, well. But I just think it's a great idea. I really like Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is a store of value. I think it's a brilliant idea. It's a digital store of value. And I think that other cryptos, including XRP, have a use case, a legitimate use case. I think XRP's is a wonderful working model. I think that it's only going to get better. They made an acquisition today where I believe they bought a prime broker. And that's really big news, because that means there'll be almost instantaneous settlement across all asset classes inside that prime broker. It'll be a wonderful start to the new Wall Street, that's based on blockchain, that moves really quickly. No more 3 days for wire transfers. We're gonna have instant money, and that's good.
Yeah, and you mentioned Bitcoin is a store of value, and you were just alluding to what Ripple's doing. But how do you like to explain what XRP is, just at a basic level?
So it may or may not be a proper explanation, but what I tell people is that it is, it's going to be used as a tool. It's a tool that's going to be used to expedite the movement of assets, primarily money, around the world almost instantaneously. They've built out the platform and the system. There are enough XRP out there and around. They have a very good dissemination plan. Everything is going to be better regulated, well regulated. It's willing to be regulated. They want to be regulated, and we've got hopefully an administration which appears to be very crypto friendly, and we're very glad about that. So I think XRP's use case is primarily the movement of money and assets around pretty quickly.
Okay, so your ETF, double XRP, this will provide leverage exposure, obviously, to the price of XRP on a daily basis. That's critical, and we should talk more about that in a moment. But just explain how you're accomplishing this exposure. What exactly does this ETF hold?
Sure. The ETF right now, it can hold any instrument that has price exposure to XRP. And what it holds right now is a swap that's based upon European XRP ETPs that currently trade. And so we're gaining the exposure through a swap. We have a swap counterparty, and that's what gives us the exposure to XRP. When we have other instruments we can trade, we will do so. We're looking forward when futures are listed, and we'll use them. We're going to use whatever the most efficient thing is that's possible for the fund and the shareholders of the funds, so that it'll be the lowest cost, highest efficiency, highest liquidity holdings in order to make that fund operate as efficiently as possible.
And obviously this is a leveraged product, but let's say at some point down the road, I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later, but let's say spot XRP ETFs are approved. Could this actually hold the spot crypto asset itself in XRP?
The way the prospectus is worded is yes, we can hold. Okay. We can hold just about any XRP instrument we deem appropriate.
Okay. And I alluded to the daily reset with this ETF. I know you've been in the ETF industry a long time. I'm sure you agree it's always important for investors to understand the basic mechanics here. So do you mind just walking through the pros and cons of the daily reset? What's most important for people to know about this?
The most important thing for people to know is this is not a long-term buy and hold instrument. This is absolutely a short-term trading tool, but ideally one day. Ideally for one day. It resets at the end of every single day. It's leverage. And that means that if XRP goes sideways, you will lose money. And this is true for any leveraged fund, okay? No matter what the asset is it's holding. Because of the reset and the math, the daily math. If that asset goes up very, very slowly or sideways or down, you will lose money. You only make money in one scenario in a long only leverage product, no matter what that product is. And that is in a very short term, quick upward movement. Or if you're selling it short, you could sell the instrument short, obviously, in a down market. But it's designed to give 200% leverage. We try to get that as close as possible, and that's obviously before fees and expenses. And we didn't invent this model, okay? We just stuck XRP in a model that's happening out there for a wide variety of assets. There are a lot of 2X funds out there right now.
And so, with that in mind, who do you view as the audience for double XRP?
I think very aggressive traders and people who are bullish in the long term and right now are unable to leverage. So, anybody can go out and buy XRP on any platform that trades crypto. But it's pretty hard to get leverage. And these 2X products, whether they be crypto or stock products, when you put them in the ETF wrapper, that makes it easy for a person to gain leverage without having a margin account. So ordinary people with their Robinhood account can sit there and trade one share with leverage of any leverage product. Again, we didn't create this product. We just packaged XRP inside of it.
And I know you're not going to give the full Teucrium playbook here, nor would I expect you to. But I think most people, certainly myself, who have covered the ETF space for a long time, Teucrium's a well-established name. You're a well-established issuer. I mentioned at the top, I always think of you around agricultural commodity ETFs and related products. But clearly, you're now involved in the crypto arena. Could you see Teucrium further expanding into crypto-related ETFs now that you have this double leverage XRP ETF?
Yes, the short answer is yes. We do already filed for the inverse. We did not choose to launch that inverse right away. We wanted to gauge the appetite there by investors. But we don't rule anything out. Look, I happen to know energy and ags from a very long time ago, as you know, Nate, and that's where we started. But we're an ETF company. We're willing to do any ETF that we think is going to provide an extra tool for investors and be useful out there. We don't just want to list something that.
And on that note, just tools that may be useful for investors. Do you have any broader thoughts on digital assets in a portfolio overall? And we can put aside for a moment the double XRP ETF, but I'm sure you're aware there's been a lot of debate around, say, Bitcoin. And, is this digital gold? Is it really a store of value in a portfolio? And then with other digital assets such as, say, Ether or Solana, I've actually said those are much more akin to technology plays than, say, a store of value. I'm just curious at a high level how you think about crypto in the context of a diversified portfolio.
Oh, I think you're exactly right. I think there's Bitcoin and there's everything else. So forget meme coins. That's a whole nother realm. But Bitcoin is a store of value. That is what it is. It operates too slowly to be transactional. There are other things like Ether, like XRP, like Solana that are, and they are systems. They are technological systems. I think you're right. I think they should be priced like technology. Rather, and when Ripple goes public or any of these companies backing these things go public, we'll see what the market thinks. And my guess is they're going to be valued as technology stocks. I think you're absolutely right. So for me, I think looking to hold value, gold is gold. And people who like gold are going to invest in gold. That's wonderful. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It is digital gold. That's my opinion about it. It should be in your portfolio to stabilize it. There are a lot of people who say, why not? I mean, given its record and given what some people say the potential is, and there are 21 million of them were mined, but are going to be mined ultimately. The available supply is only 21 million. But I've read reports where 16 or 17 million is really what the available float is because of people like me who would have bought it at 25 cents and lost their thumb drive. Those things are gone forever. They just are.
Well, Sal, I know you're an extremely busy person today. I'm sure you want to go watch the close of this newly launched ETF. Congratulations on the launch. I'm sure you would agree. It's always good to be first in ETF land. So congratulations on that. And best of luck to you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it very much.
That was Sal Gilbertie, CEO of Teucrium. Hope everyone enjoyed this episode of Crypto Prime. Please leave a review or give us a like wherever you're listening or watching. That obviously helps other people find this show. And always feel free to send me questions or comments. You can do that at cryptoprimepodcast.com. See you again next week.
Crypto Prime is hosted by Nate Geraci, president of OTR Media LLC. Nate is also president of the investment advisory firm The ETF Store. While OTR Media LLC and the ETF Store are related by common ownership, they are separate and distinct entities, and anything discussed on this program should not be construed as an official statement by the ETF Store. This program is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice. Investing in crypto assets involves substantial risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any past performance figures discussed are not necessarily indicative of future results. Visit CryptoPrimePodcast.com for more information.